We've been now given the go-ahead.
Thank you. The regular meeting, of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, this Tuesday, June 1st, 2021, 9:30 a.m. Laguna Woods will come to order. The next item would be Director Garth Hoffner. Will you lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Can you mute him, Grant?
He's muted.
Right. Can you can Grant unmute him? There we go.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I'm not acknowledging the media. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda? If there are no objections, then the agenda is approved. So the next item is the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections and additions to the minutes of April 22nd, 2021 agenda prep open meeting? If there are no objections, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. So the next order of business would be the approval of the minutes for May 4th, 2021 regular open meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to these minutes? So if there are no corrections or additions to the minutes of May 4th, 2021 regular open meeting is approved by unanimous consent. So the next item is the report of the chair, and my remarks today is a tribute to Bert Maldo. And so I'll ask staff to start the video for Bert. Okay, good. All right. GRF is saddened by passing of board member Bert Maldo. It is with great sadness that we say farewell to GRF Director Bert Maldo, who passed away at the age of 88 on May 4th, 2021. A 10-year resident of Laguna Woods Village, Director Maldo faithfully served our community in many capacities. It is with that same spirit of service that we express our gratitude for his dedicated service. A Brooklyn native, Director Maldo earned a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the City College of New York and a master's business administration for George Washington University, and was a graduate of the IBM Systems Research Institute. He applied the considerable experience he gained during his career as an electrical engineer, systems analyst, manager, and corporate consultant for IBM to improve various village operations and facilities. Environmental and energy issues were of particular importance to Director Maldo, and he founded and served as president of the Engineering Energy Club of Laguna Woods and served as an advisor to the city of Laguna Woods regarding the same. During his near 2 full terms on 3rd Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, he formed and chaired the Energy Committee. which encouraged the mutual to install LED lighting in its third-story buildings, in carports, and on walkway lighting bollards, as well as install solar on several buildings. Further, he initiated contact with Southern California Edison to purchase third mutual streetlights to enable LED light conversions. While serving on GRF Board of Directors, he chaired the Energy Task Force, which identified technologies with the potential of saving the village money and enhancing such services as electrical vehicle chargers. As a member of the GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee, he was instrumental in cutting cost estimates associated with the Performing Arts Center renovation. Additional appointments included chair of the clubhouse, one ad hoc renovation committee, and the landscape committee chair. While serving on the disaster preparedness task force, he worked to find a reliable, sustainable energy source during the possible disaster. Director Maldo is survived by his wife, Gloria, and their 4 children, Leslie, Andrea, Bruce, and Charles, and their spouses, and many grandchildren. We are grateful to Director Maldo for his dedicated service to our village. He, as well as his kind, wise counsel, will be sorely missed. It'll make me cry. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything at this point in time. They're welcome to. And if not, while I regain my composure here, we will go on. Okay. We will go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the CEO report. And so, Jeff, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, and to the board and to our residents watching this morning. Good morning. And I have a couple of things I wanted to give an update on. COVID, start with COVID. Good news. Wanted to indicate we continue in Orange County and Laguna Woods to a very strong downward trend with regards to cases in Orange County, as well as hospitalizations. Both of those are tracking in the exact direction that we all wanted to see, so that we can move in. We're in the yellow now. The last tier is the green tier, which the governor has indicated that if everything keeps going as planned, that come June 15th, we're going to hear that we're moving into the green tier, which means the restrictions that we know as far as wearing masks outside for sure is going away. And all that is positive, because I know Bunny had mentioned earlier that she was out walking, and a lot of people are out the outdoors now that summer's coming, and not having to wear a mask will be a great element of getting away from that. And we'll see what the overall restrictions are as we get closer to the 15th, if there's going to be any, or if it's going to be a fully engaged back to where we were prior to COVID, a year and now 3 months ago. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll keep you posted on that. The second thing I wanted to mention was that staff is working right now with regards to our plans with regards to reopening and how we can subsequently take us from the yellow to the green. And I know that there's been a lot of talk out there and a lot of discussions and emails to us about how we're going to reopen some of these things. And I just wanted to make it real clear. With regards to a couple of the specific activities I wanted to mention, we're going to reopen them, and we're not going to be using the reservation system that we put in place with regards to the COVID activities. This will be more like we were prior to opening up, and that will be with regards to the gyms. Once the gyms are opened up and we go green, assuming that happens on the 15th, then the gyms will be back in place where people can just walk in and go back to the gym. So obviously we'll have it staffed appropriately. And with regards to the pools, All of the pools will be the same manner. People will be able to go to the pools whenever they want to go to the pools within the hours of operation that we exist. The only exception to that we're looking at is Pool 2, which is our lap pool. And we like the idea of keeping a reservation system there because people are going to want to swim in the specific laps and their lanes, and making reservations on like an hourly basis for that type of activity makes much more sense to us to make sure that we don't have people running into people with regards to swimming laps, but all the other pools would be open. With regards to the other big activity, which is the clubhouses, when are we going to open the clubhouses? We're going to be taking a cautiously phased approach into opening up the clubhouses. We anticipate that to happen in July. So the last couple weeks of June will be kind of our soft opening of the activities, but we're working with the clubs right now. We have a survey that's going back out to them. This is our second survey, getting all the information necessary, make sure the scheduling is working with them. And what we're anticipating is we're going to use July 4th as we got a nice parade that we're planning, and that'll be the July 4th kind of kickoff to the fact that we're reopening here in the village, which will be exciting. So we're looking at July 6th is kind of the back to normal here in the village as much as possible. Now, I do want to put one note out there to everybody and the board knows this, is that we are been working very diligently to hire all the part-time staff necessary to accommodate all this. And that's been very difficult in the environment out there, competition-wise, with businesses reopening and hiring part-time people still not wanting to go back to work for a number of reasons, and the competition of the fact that there has been assistance for people that have been off work, and that assistance goes until September. So there's been at least a more difficult time in finding part-time employee, but we're working diligently with that, and we're even the use of people here in the village and looking at that activity as far as part-timers to help us regain the activities that we want to accomplish come July. So with that, I just want to mention the last thing is that we will be doing a more extensive notification process. We'll be on TV6, we'll be on doing it through our internet, and we'll probably be doing some kind of direct piece out to our residents to make sure they know what's going to open up in July and how we're going about the hours of operation with regards to our different activities. So we look forward to engaging with all our residents again, including here at the community center. We anticipate our board meetings coming back into the operation here. We'll kind of do a dual role where we're going to continue to use Zoom as well as having people here in the community center running our board meetings. So we'll have a kind of a dual role option for people. But we look forward to having that back open. And as well, we will continue to use a reservation process with manor alterations and resident services. Although people will be able to walk in, it'll be more efficient by having people sign up and get their appointments. And it's been working really, really well. So be looking forward to communicating more to the community in the next couple of weeks with regards to specifics, and look forward with working with the board. And welcome to June, everybody. Thank you. That's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Siobahn.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few announcements this morning. The Village Bazaar returns this Saturday, June 5th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Clubhouse 5 parking lot. Village artisans and vendors will be selling their wares at this event. The July 4th golf cart parade is coming up. Residents are invited to celebrate this July 4th as part of the Community Independence Day Golf Cart Parade. The parade starts from Clubhouse 1 at 9 a.m. and registration is via ActiveNet and is free to entrance. The Monday summer movie schedule has now been published. On the second and fourth Mondays in June, July, and August, residents may come to Clubhouse 5 in the main lounge to cool off and enjoy a movie. The movies will be shown at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. The June 14th feature will be The Peanut Butter Falcon, and on June 28th, Soul will be shown. Movies are free, and reservations are through the ActiveNet system and required 1 week in advance. As Mr. Parker mentioned, resident services and manor alterations are open in the community center for appointments only. Resident services appointments are between 1 and 4:30 p.m. daily. Call resident services at 949-597-4600 to schedule an appointment. Manor alteration appointments are between 8 a.m. and noon daily. You can call Manor Alterations at 949-597-4616 to schedule an appointment. New resident orientations are coming up. Residents new to the village are encouraged to attend a virtual new resident orientation session. The next orientation sessions for United will be Friday, June 4th at 9 a.m. and for Third Mutual on Wednesday, June 16th at 4:30 p.m. Residents must RSVP by emailing Executive Assistant Becky Jackson at becky.jackson@vmsinc.org. And a reminder that the next free bulky item pickup will be Saturday, June 19th. Please remember to notify resident services prior to setting out bulky items. The telephone number is 949-597-4600. And then residents are asked to place their bulky items near trash enclosures or in the same location they place their trash bins. Please set out the items the night before or no later than 7 a.m. on collection day. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. So the next item of order of business is the open forum. At this time, members only may address the board of directors regarding items that are not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the board of directors. So, Grant, how many people do you have that would like to speak?
We have 2 people on Zoom who would like to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
The first speaker is Andre Toring.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to talk about some concerns I have with the VMS major projects. My career has been in computer system and management, 20 years in the software and the KPI development, the other 20 years in major ERP implementations. I will focus on that based on my 40 years experience in those areas. First, I want to talk about backup and the restore program. BMS has proposed a budget for that. However, I haven't seen a plan for the budget. As we all know, our process changes all the time. New systems installed, old systems upgraded, data changed, hardware upgraded, and also personnel changed. You cannot develop a backup plan and put it on the shelf. A year later, expect the restore process will cover everything new and changed you put in between smoothly. There needs to be at least a semi-annual dry run to ensure the integrity of the plan. To do that, a plan and SOP must be happens. What if staff responsibility are changed? Additional data are covered. We need a plan to cover all possibilities to ensure it will be a success when it happens. I don't want to see a couple years later we are hacked and our backup restore process wasn't up to date and staffs are not familiar with the process. GRF needs to oversee a plan to review and the changes made periodically. We don't want to waste money on an incomplete process when we need it. Second, I want to talk about our HOA ERP system implementation.
Andre, you have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I believe I used less than 1.5 minutes. I'm checking time here.
Thank you.
Okay. I need to bring attention to GRF board. VMS is not ready for this. I repeat, VMS is not ready for this. VMS doesn't even have a software implementation methodology for a small system like our recreation reservation system, let alone with an ERP system implementation. Many of our current implemented systems are not complete and require manual intervention to make them work. I am not sure how much money we saved with such semi-automated systems. Staff and management are also not prepared for possible organization changes and the documentation or change management. And the proposal of incremental implementation will cost plenty of extra for customization and interfaces for only short-term purposes. We need a plan to make sure all steps are completed and can be monitored. We don't want to repeat the financial dynamics in implementation and that proposed 6 months initially end up 27 months. And the parent of VMS still doesn't know some of the functions of that system. And without us,
3 minutes have expired.
Thank you. Thank you, Andre. All right, which is the next person that wants to speak?
Janet Powers.
All right.
Good morning. I'm Janet Powers, and my husband Chris and I are members of Third. First, I want to express our deepest sympathy to all of Bert Moldau's friends and family. He was a very nice man and did a lot of work for our community. My husband and I have spoken at the last few GRF board and finance committee meetings about our concerns on the investments by GRF. After our last remarks, there were many comments made by directors in defense of these investments. There's not enough time in this forum to address the many misstatements that were made. But suffice it to say that those arguments and justifications don't change the fact that the board and the VMS employees are not entitled to invest the members' money any way you feel like it. The inconvenient truth is that you're in violation of your own investment policy, since your mutual funds are not obligations of or fully guaranteed to principal by the U.S. government. You're in breach of your fiduciary duty to manage the money as trustees and to not lose any principal, according to your own attorney's website. We also believe that the Davis-Sterling Act Civil Code Section 5380 applies, and it prohibits your current investments as well as the use of Sageview Financial. It's worth it to note that Sageview does not handle any investments for other HOAs and is in violation of their own contract with GRF, which requires them to follow the GRF investment policy. Every Sageview monthly statement to GRF clearly says that mutual funds are not insured and have principal risk. So who found these guys? We've requested that you immediately change the investments to comply with 5380 and your fiduciary duty, as well as the investment policy. You failed to do so. Frankly, we don't understand your reluctance to become compliant with the law. Once Third Mutual was advised that it was in violation, it quickly looked into the matter and announced it's changed its investments to comply with 5380 and its investment policy. So why hasn't GRF done the same? Is the reluctance to change and follow the law because some people are benefiting here? Who stands to lose if a change is made? Director Hopkins told us that a legal opinion was being obtained and that we would be advised in writing, but we haven't been notified. This is a very serious matter. Millions of dollars are at stake here. Each director and VMS employee who breaches his or her fiduciary duty will have personal liability, which is not going to be covered by GRF or insurance. We don't intend to engage in this open forum process any further, since there's no meaningful opportunity for dialogue in this forum. So be advised, if you fail to act in compliance promptly, we'll need to consider serving each director and VMS with appropriate legal dispute resolution process. Thank you.
Jim, do you want to answer, or do you want to make any comments?
Well, it looks like I'm up on both issues here. First, let me address Director Torm's issues. We are in a process right now of moving forward with a total revamp of our software and IT process. In fact, Mr. Torm was the chairperson of the ad hoc committee in which he evaluated several potential ERP systems off the shelf. The staff and I are in the process, and by the way, I'm the chair now of the IT steering committee, and the purpose of that is to take the work done by the advisory committee, software advisory committee, take a look at it, understand it, and then take the steering committee with staff evaluations and move forward with a plan. We're in the process of doing that now, and in fact, Director Torm is will be a part of that committee, even though he is no longer a chair. So we're still in the process of moving forward. We've got to dot some I's and cross some T's before we introduce all of our findings to the new steering committee, which will start sometime in late June or early July. So it's a little premature to talk about what we don't have. I'm not sure whether Director Torn is aware of all the details that go in that the staff is actually doing, but he's made several assertions that of what they're not doing. So we're going to take it seriously and move forward in terms of if there's a backup and restore plan that's not there, that should be there, we'll take a look at that too. But we're moving forward with our plans to really revamp our ERP systems with an eye towards customer service and financial integrity and operational integrity. Okay, moving on to Ms. Powers. As she stated, there are several assertions that she made that we don't believe are true. Okay, first of all, it's not that we don't believe it. VMS employees do not invest. The board has sole responsibility for the investments. Obviously, we asked VMS to do the work for us, but the board itself is responsible for the investments. And we do that through SAGE, which then directs Fidelity, a well known firm, to handle our investments. And with that said, we just got, in the last few days, we just got a legal opinion. Our legal opinion differs from her assertions. I won't go into a lot of detail on it, but we will be getting back to her. But just so you understand that some of the code that she quotes are we do not believe apply. It's unclear whether it applies to the board. 5380, as she asserts, is about the managing agent, not what the board responsibilities are relative to reserves. So we'll have that discussion with her and present that to you in the next meeting. But we do not believe she is correct and all of her assertions. At the same time, we take our responsibility. This is our money, my money. And so we take that responsibility very, very seriously. And we're not going to make a change in what we do just because someone asserts that we're in violation. We want to determine that we are in violation. If we are, we don't think we are. The other thing to note is that the reaction to this, to what's going on, has been because we're having a loss in the current financial period. The loss is a paper loss, just so you understand. It is a paper loss. The bonds that we invest in, and they are all bonds, they're bond funds, okay, which is a little different than bonds. I won't go into detail on that. But you can suffer market loss in periods. Last year, we had a significant gain, and that's just in the market price of the bond funds. The yield, which is the interest on the bonds, has been relatively steady and has been positive each period. Has been positive each period. By the way, if we were to have sold our bonds immediately, as Ms. Powers suggests, we would have suffered a loss in a period loss, that is for this year. We would have suffered over a $500,000 loss because of market value. At the same time, if you look at on an inception to date, we have gained in market value by some $50,000. So there is no real loss in principal or bond price on an inception to date. And so again, had we reacted as another mutual did, there would have been an actual loss for the period as opposed to an unrealized loss for the period. We didn't think this was a wise thing to do, especially in a reaction to an assertion that, based on our initial legal opinion, is not a valid assertion. But we were getting back to you on our total findings, because some of our findings, the detail is we do have a policy that needs to be amended, but it has to be amended based on its wording, not in terms of its policy. The wording gives VMS and the board some responsibilities that each one should or should not have. So we just need to firm up the words. But in actual practice, it is the board that makes the decision, not VMS. All right. By the way, VMS is a wholly owned corporation, non-for-profit, that is owned and governed by the members of GRF. Members meaning the mutuals. So it is a total responsibility. They are not. Basically they are managing agent, but they are not managing agents in the tradition of the word. They gain nothing by any interaction with any investment company. I know I took the long way out on that one, but I think it required a little bit more explanation than what was presented.
Bunny, can I add to that a little bit?
Okay, go on, John.
Thank you. I think Jim covered pretty much everything that anyone on the board would want to say from a, fiduciary responsibility, a process responsibility. My comments are more from a community perspective. This process, I joined in when I was on Third Mutual as the treasurer after the investment committee was already established. And there were, I would ballpark, tens of meetings, all of which were available in terms of minutes, notes. Those were then brought to finance committees. There was an entire process in which any resident and or attorney would have had access to this information of what considerations were being made and could have opined at that time if they saw concerns with existing laws. Going one step further, I think we as a board will, want to respect whatever legal, opinions our attorneys bring to us. And if it means, reversing some decisions that got made in a very transparent process that was designed to increase yield and save fees, and it was dramatic in those savings, and we have outperformed, an individual bond portfolio that is government backed, then we will change them. But it will be at a cost to our community, in the sense of fewer dollars received. And that may be what the community wants, is more safety and less total income, even though these investments couldn't be more safe. They're just simply not government backed directly because they're a mutual fund. But some of the assertions that we've, increased the risk to our residents, or there was something nefarious in the design of this thing, and more so that it was done without full transparency, is just blatantly false. And I would hope that anybody with the, information and knowledge base of the people bringing this to us would ask those questions and do that research before presenting that sort of information to the public, because there's a clear implication that something was done that was not fully transparent. And I would, put out there and be happy to be part of any opportunity to prove the transparency, that everybody knew what we were doing, everybody understood it, and all three mutuals voted for it in open meetings with question and answers and information. And to imply that something was done underhanded or without the proper process just really sends a horrible message to the community that's not true. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, because I was part of that entire process. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. Jim?
Yeah, John. Yeah, thank you very much, John. John was part of the initial process, and is very much an expert in a lot of these processes. So I really appreciate the comment, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
President
Any more
Carpenter,
comments?
before moving forward, if you would like, Richard Rader wishes to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Jim, you mentioned that you could go into detail with regard to the legal statements or letter that you received. I wondered if this should go to the Finance Committee for a more open discussion, in which case there could be a further airing of this so that residents will understand exactly what the legal requirements are.
Thank you.
Just a comment, Richard, is that we are going to discuss this in closed meeting where we have just been able to review the opinion, by our lawyer. So we have been actively address this, and I just want the community to know that.
Yeah, and in regards to your mentioning that it should be discussed in Finance Committee, we will discuss it in the Finance Committee. At the moment, it is a legal issue, right, as opposed to just a financial issue. It has financial implications, but it is a legal issue and a board issue, and not necessarily a Finance Committee issue at the moment.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Chris Powers wishes to make a comment.
Okay.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you for hearing me. As to Director Pearlstone, he mentioned that this is all done with transparency. I'm not suggesting that it wasn't, neither was my wife. However, we don't believe this was run by legal at the time, because perhaps you would have a review at that time. And just because it was done as you said, with transparency, doesn't mean that your position is correct now. Director Hopkins says these are just paper losses. They can't be more real. The losses are true. And there are fluctuations in the market because you have bond funds. If you had bonds, those would be marked at purchase price, and any premium or discount would be amortized until maturity. So that's the reason why David Sterling wants you to have bonds and not bond funds. And I'm asking you, under what theory do you think having bond funds complies with your investment policy, which requires that they're backed by the full faith of the United States government? Thank you.
Point of order. Point of order.
Thank you. Joan?
This is not a debate. We can't debate at this time.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on?
There are no
Jim,
further
you wanna
comments.
make okay.
You're correct, Secretary Millen, but it was a comment by a different person about a different issue, and I believe one of the last things he said was it was not legal, and I think we need that has yet to be determined, and this is one of the reasons we're having a legal opinion on this. And I think once we get the legal opinion, and we do have an opinion, but it is, in our view, incomplete, but it leans towards our view of the world. So, but anyway, so I just wanted to make that clear too. We will have a full and complete summary of this at the next meeting or before. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next order of business is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion. Okay, so the recommendation from the Finance Committee, consistent with its statutory obligations, the subcommittee of the board consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member reviewed and approved preliminary Golden Rain Foundation financials for the month of April 2021. By this vote, ratify that such review be confirmed in this month's board member open session meeting minutes. Item B is approve a resolution to update committee appointments. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the consent calendar is approved by unanimous consent. So the next item is unfinished business. It is to entertain a motion to approve the resolution pertaining to the distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods. And Joan, will you please read the motion, the resolution?
Okay, thank you. Resolution 9021XX, distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods Village. Whereas the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods GRF adopted a policy applicable to the distribution of all First Amendment publications within Laguna Woods Village by non-residents. And whereas GRF intends to permit distribution of telephone directories specific to the community, and whereas parties distributing publications that are allowed by this resolution must complete and submit a distribution permit, which is available from the security office. And whereas the board recognizes the need to revise distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods Village resolution to reflect current insurance requirements. Now, therefore, be it resolved, June 1st, 2021, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces the revised distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolved further that Resolution 9015-17, adopted March 3rd, 2015, is hereby suspended in its entirety and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution for the purpose of discussion and postpone the final vote for 28 days per Civil Code 4360.
Thank you. So do we have a second?
We need a second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? There's no discussion.
I just want to point, may I?
Yes, please.
I want to point out a couple of things that were changed so that everyone is aware of why we sent this back. If you take a look at the policy itself, in the first paragraph, we added the words, with the exception of telephone directories specific to the community, period. And then at the bottom of the page, I'm talking about page 4 of 6, number 2A, several paragraphs we felt were overkill as far as what kind of insurance is required, so that the main insurance that is required is proof of commercial general liability insurance of $1 million each occurrence and $1 million aggregate combined single limit for bodily injury and property damage, period. And then all the paragraphs describing the insurance that was covered were cut out by the committee, and then paragraph B was paragraph F, and those are the major changes that were made. And at the end on paragraph number 5, provisions of this policy may be enforced by the security department. Any reports may be filed by calling the security department, and it gives their phone number and email. So that was what had to be changed, and I just wanted to present that to everyone so you knew what was done.
Thank you. Are there any objections?
Or further
I should first ask, is there any further discussion? So if there's no further discussion, Okay, Maggie?
I second the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. We have 2 seconds now.
I thought
Okay.
it was seconded. 2 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, are there any objections? If there are no objections, then the motion to approve a resolution pertaining to the distribution of publications by non-residents of Laguna Woods is passed by unanimous consent. So the next item is entertain a motion to introduce a resolution to revise the Code of Ethics, which was previously approved and modified. So during the closed May meeting, directors and legal counsel recommended we add the clause that director censorship may be disclosed and that the signature page to be deleted because this is an approved policy. So Joan, please read the resolution.
Okay. Resolution 90-21-XX, Code of Ethics Policy for GRF Directors. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF, has recognized the need to amend the Code of Ethics Policy for GRF Directors. And now therefore be it resolved, June 1st, 2021, the Board of Directors of this corporation adopts the Code of Ethics for GRF Directors as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 90-2116 is hereby suspended and canceled, and resolve further that a copy of this resolution shall be given to every candidate for the GRF Board of Directors, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we accept this Code of Ethics Policy for GRF Directors.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
We need a second.
Okay, thank you. Second? Okay, Maggie,
Maggie?
is there any discussion?
President Carpenter,
So if
just
there's-
for clarification, I do believe that this is on a 28-day review because of the revision.
No.
We have a new 28-day review because of the changes.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, that was the understanding.
Okay, then I move.
I have a comment. John, I have a comment.
I move that we post,
Go
and I
to the
move
third
that we
one.
postpone this.
Go to the third one, third paragraph. We've resolved further. Go to the third paragraph. Resolved further that resolution 90-17-12. I think you mentioned some other number. Can you please check on that?
This resolution is 90-2116.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Go to the third paragraph, and the resolution number 90-17-12 is hereby suspended and cancelled. What I heard, that number was different from when June read it out.
I don't know, can we verify that?
Yeah, can you please verify that number, 90-17-12, on the third paragraph?
I'm looking at this Code of Ethics Policy Resolution, and I don't see that particular number again.
90-17-12 in my copy.
Joan? Don't hear you. Joan?
The wrong number is printed, I believe, as Scan points out. If you look at the, and I didn't catch it, the third paragraph says that resolution 90-21-16 is hereby suspended. It's the 21 that's wrong.
Okay.
Well, in my copy, it is 90-17-12.
That I think is correct. That's the one that has been replaced. Is that
Okay.
Is that what you understand? Guys, help me out. Siobhan, did you understand that?
Joan, the number in the, I apologize for that. The number in the resolution is correct. This was adopted last meeting, so now we are going to cancel it and suspend it because we're making substantive changes.
Okay, thank you. So basically,
Got
it
it.
says
So-
resolve further, the resolution should read 90-70-12 is hereby suspended and canceled, correct?
No, the resolution 90-21-16 is correct. This resolution, there was a prior resolution adopted last meeting, so now we have to cancel and suspend that. And that
You're
is,
saying the same
That's
thing.
right. No, you're not.
Oh, we're
What-
not?
What is in the resolution? Okay, what is in the resolution is correct. So
Okay.
because
Okay.
it refers to last month's meeting, not
Okay,
the original. Not the original. It is the resolution's right.
okay, thank
Okay.
you. Okay, and does that clarify for you, Dan?
Well, I wanted to make sure that we are writing the right numbers.
And Siobhan verified that.
Yes, Siobhan is still going for 90-21-12. By my
No.
copy shows 90-17-12.
The number I have is 90-21-16, which
Yes,
was
me too.
last month's number, and that has been canceled, canceled because we added something.
Okay,
This I want to make sure. This is resolution number 90-21-16. Is that
Correct.
correct?
that's
Yes.
correct.
And then in my third paragraph, it is written resolution 90-17-12. So correct accordingly.
don't-
That's my.
Don't know why you got that.
Yeah. Okay, thank
Thanks for the
you.
head. Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Excuse me, but I then have to make a motion to postpone it 28 days because of the changes.
Yes.
Okay, so I move that we postpone this resolution 28 days per civil code. I don't have it in front of me. Per civil code that requires this. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Maggie seconded it?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Are there any objections? If there are no objections, the motion to revise, to approve the resolution to revise the Code of Ethics and postpone for 28 days is approved by unanimous consent. Okay, thank
We
you.
just put it all together. Yeah, thank you. Oh, boy.
Okay, thank you. All right. So new business. So the next item is entertain motion to approve access key hardware device, okay, for Amazon. And before we make the motion, I would like for either staff, to give us a report as to what this is for.
Bunny, I will have Chief of Security Carlos Rojas address this, please, if you'll let him come into the meeting.
Yes, I didn't see him here, or I would have called him. Thank you.
Well, good morning, folks. Yes, the access key hardware system, I'll give you a overview of it. And what it really does is it enhances our security as far as vendors coming into the community. The way we handle Amazon now, as you know, their volume is very high, just like in any other community. And what happens now, at best, when they come to the gate, they'll give us a manor number, a name, and then they come on in. So that could, of course, be, manipulated so you can beat the security system and get into the community without having to deliver a package. Not that this is a huge problem with Amazon or necessarily any of the other contractors, but to really optimize our security, we were actually approached by Amazon on this. We didn't even know that this existed. But basically what this device does, it allows them to only enter the community when they have a package delivery that has been authorized within their system. And then so this does work off of RFID. So they could only go into the gate that's closest to where they're going to deliver the package, and the gate will automatically open. So it is a benefit to Amazon as well as us from a security standpoint. So we're able to know exactly when the Amazon vehicle is in the community, what gate it went in, where it actually delivered, and we're able to audit that on the back end, along with Amazon's able to do the same on their system. So it's a very it is a very unique system in that oftentimes they use it on smaller apartment complexes for security, so they can get in and out a little bit more efficiently. But it will work very well here in our community, as it really controls the access to the community in terms of they're only going into the gate where they're authorized to make that delivery. And during their peak seasons, they also have a lot of subcontractors. So that's when you'll have the unmarked cargo vans that don't say Amazon, and especially if they get lost, you'll see them wandering the community. So this will make it more efficient for them, but it will also provide enhanced security for the village.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
So, yes, Joan?
I'd like to move. Can I make a motion?
Yes, I was going to ask for that.
Okay. I move that we approve the access key hardware device from Amazon.
Do I have a second? John seconds it.
Don.
Is there any discussion?
Richard Rader does wish to make a comment.
Okay. Go ahead. Richard.
It's a little bit out of order, so I will wait until after you do the vote for this. What had happened was my hand was raised during the entire time you were discussing code of conduct, and I just had a quick comment. You may want to change some wording. May I make that statement, because I was not recognized during that entire time?
Joan, she's our parliamentarian. I don't know if this is the right time to.
I don't want to do it now. I will wait until after you do this vote.
May I make a suggestion that we not do it here, that since there's time, there's 28 days to make revisions to that you send in your suggestions by email to me, Dick, and I will put it in, or I will make sure it gets recognized.
Okay, no problem. But may I request, this happens sometimes with some frequency. Would the coordinator please pay attention to the raised hands? I know it's difficult, but that would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you, though. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have the motion and we have the seconds. I'm trying to recall where we were at that point.
That's right. We have a motion and a second.
And so if there's no objections, then the motion to approve the access key hardware device is approved by unanimous consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes? Do I hear? Oh, okay. It was Carlos. It said thank you, right? Okay. Thank you, Carlos. So the next item is a motion to approve the resolution for appointment officers to update Assistant Treasurer ex officio. Joan, please read the resolution.
Resolution 90-21-XX, appointment of officers. Resolved on June 1st, 2021, pursuant to Golden Rain Foundation bylaws, which sets guidelines, terms, and responsibilities for the election of officers to this corporation. The following persons are hereby elected to the office indicated next to their names to serve. Bunny Carpenter, President. Egon Gotthofner, First Vice President. Don Tibbetts, second vice president. Joan Milliman, secretary. James Hopkins, treasurer. Resolved further that the following staff persons are approved. I'm sorry. Resolved further that the following staff person is hereby approved as ex officio officer of this corporation. Jeff Parker, vice president ex officio. Siobahn Foster, assistant secretary ex officio. Steve Harmuth, assistant treasurer ex officio. Resolved further that Resolution 90-21-02, adopted January 5th, 2021, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are directed on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve the appointment of officers.
Is there a second? Did I hear Maggie give us, okay, Egon seconds it?
Don already seconded.
Okay, thank you. Is there any
Oh,
discussion?
wait, no, that was the hardware. I'm sorry. I'll second this one.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Okay.
Maggie, okay.
Is there any discussion?
Richard
So
Ritter
there's
would
no
like to
discussion?
make a comment on this.
Okay. Dick?
Oh, that's an error. I don't think my hand is raised at all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's no discussion, are there any objections? So if there are no objections, the motion to approve a resolution for appointment of officers to update Assistant Treasurer ex officio is passed by unanimous consent. Thank you. Okay, at this time, would the board like to take a 5-minute break? I definitely would. So can we
Okay.
take a break
Let's take
and
a
come back?
5-minute break. Yeah.
5 minutes, 5 minutes. So it's 10:32. So let's make it at 10:40. We will come back and meet. Thank you. 9:40. So we shall resume this meeting with committee reports. So Director Hopkins, would you provide the Finance Committee financial report?
Thank you, President Carpenter. May I have the first slide, please? There it is. Okay. The first slide indicates that through the reporting period ending April 30th, 2021, that the total revenue was $14 million compared to expenses of $13.1 million. And that results in a net revenue of $899,000. Next slide, please. Now, the financial community, they keep a close eye on the operating portion of the financial results. The operating fund, which is without depreciation, shows a favorable variance of $607,000 through the reporting period. Next slide, please. Now, this next chart shows the same actuals from the income statement, but it compares it to budget. And so what it shows is that net revenue is favorable to budget by $554,000. We'll explain that in a moment. And next slide. Now, this slide shows our most significant variances by category, with the green bars representing the favorable variances and the orange bars representing the unfavorable variances. First is an employee compensation and related expenses. Now, the $832,000 favorable variance was primarily due to open positions in security and information services. And a recruitment process is in progress on those in those areas. Also, certain janitorial positions remain unfilled while clubhouses are closed and fewer hours are budgeted. Also, in the transportation, we have fewer hours due to the temporary consolidation of the commercial routes. Other operating expense is $107,000 favorable due to the continued closure of the facilities. Professional fees are also favorable, and that's due to the movement of budgeted IT fees to outside services. Community events are $102,000 favorable due to facility closure during the pandemic. The budget also did assume that we would reopen in March. And of course, there's 3 months before actually we're opening in June and July. So that will continue. That will basically flatten out over the next few months. Now, moving forward to some of the unfavorable variances. The unrealized gain or loss, in this case a loss on our investments, is $439,000. Of course, we had a lot of discussion on that earlier, but just to re-explain how that works is we on an inception to date basis. In other words, when we first invested in our bond funds, we would have had a $52,000 gain. However, since the accounting period is from year to year, in any given year, you may have fluctuation. This year, there's a downward fluctuation of the actual value of the bonds, not the principal of the bonds, but the value of the bonds in terms of the open market. As a result, we are showing a loss in this particular period. Last year, we had a gain. So on an inception to date basis, since we purchased the bonds, there is a $52,000 gain. Over that period, the yield, which is the interest on the bonds, over the first 3 months or 4 months of this year, the interest on those bonds has been $63,000, and that's a cash increase. On miscellaneous revenue, unfavorable, it's due to less fees collected during these facility closures. For instance, auto decal fees, photocopy fees, traffic violation fees, and other additional occupant fees are down. Also, clubhouse rentals are down by, and event fees are down by $116,000, again, due to the closures. Next slide, please. Okay. Now this slide shows our non-assessment revenue. Okay, and of course we have non-assessment revenue other than our assessments, and they're such as fees and rentals. To date, we have received over $3.5 million, as shown in the pie chart. As we can see that the makeup of those fees, broadband services is 45% of those fees, or in dollars is $1.6 million. Our trust facility fees, which are those fees that we receive when a unit is sold, okay, is 36% of the non-assessment revenue, or about $1.3 million. And our golf revenue represents 18% of that total, which is approximately $283,000. And of course, other revenue is a very small amount. Not sure exactly what all of that is, but it's a lot of different things. Next page, please. When we look at our total expenses of $13,111,000, okay, we see that the largest piece, the two largest pieces, are employee compensation, which is 54%, and depreciation, 13%. Of course, depreciation is non-cash. The other expenses are our cable programming fees, insurance and professional and legal fees, and outside services. Outside services is normally a little higher than this at a total of total fees, no, total expenses. The rest of it is utilities and other expenses, adding to 9% of our total expenses. Next slide, please. Now, this slide shows our resale history from 2019 to 2021 on a year-to-date basis, 2021. The community-wide sales so far have been, through April, have been 270 sales. Most of these transactions generate the $5,000 trust facilities fee, or transfer fee, as commonly called, and are used as a source of revenue. It looks like from 2019 and 2020, we're up about 17% on average on a year-to-year basis. Okay, next chart, please. This chart shows our reserve and contingency funds on an adjusted basis. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds have a combined ending balance of $30.7 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facility fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows the work in process of $5.3 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. The third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balances of $25.4 million. Next slide, please. Okay. Here we compare our adjusted fund balances to the historical balance of the past 5 years, showing that GRF has averaged about $23 million in reserve and contingency funds during that period. We're now up to a balance of over $25 million. Next chart, please. This next chart shows a listing of the slides, which gives you an idea of where the reserve money is actually committed. In other words, these are the encumbrances. Of the $15.4 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency funds is $11.1 million. And you can see the majority of that is in clubhouses, which is $3.5 million in encumbrance, and other facilities, and in the computer area or software area. Vehicles also has an encumbrance of $1.3 million. So that makes up the $11.1 million of encumbrances on the $15 million of total appropriations already allocated. That completes my Treasurer's report for April 30th. And let me just say that our next finance meeting is June 17th. That completes my report.
Thank you. So the next report will be from the Strategic Planning Committee. Director Prostone.
Thank you, President Carpenter. We had our prep meeting. We were going to have a meeting this month with the Strategic Planning Committee that involves all of the various boards representation, so we get good, good broad input. And staff has created a framework for what the Strategic Planning Committee agreed would be a good top priority to get the program started, and that is resident experience, customer experience, or how we interact with our staff and our boards, and just trying to improve the overall operations from that perspective. So it's going to be an open meeting. We welcome attendance, and again, we're not trying to create radical changes in this committee. We're trying to paint a vision for what things might look like 10, 20, 30 years from now. And seeing the first step might give you a good idea of what I hope is a building consensus of how to, make our community better on many levels without, changing things that people really hold dear to them. So that is where we are today. There's really nothing specific to present. I'd rather show it at the meeting. I don't know it all. As I said, staff's preparing the report, but I was very pleased with the highlights that I was shared, and there'll be opportunities for input and adjustment as always. So we also have an overview of some of the facilities ideas, because that's priority number 2. So should be a very productive meeting about the future of the village, and we look forward to board and resident participation. Should I jump into CAC since that's next?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the other committee of which I'm the chair is the CAC committee, and we've got a meeting coming up next Thursday, a week from Thursday, June 10th at 1:30. Same sort of situation. We've tried to put together, we've talked about this in prior updates, an approach to fees and revenues that the community would either be paying or generating, and try to make it make sense from a budget standpoint, keep our assessments as low as possible, keep fees as low as possible, but maintain levels of service. And I will say we've received a lot of input from residents that's been really helpful. We've had great consensus from the CAC committee, meaning we've taken all input and balanced it instead of just going with what any one faction may think is the best approach. And a fee schedule will be presented on the 10th that will show you what we're hoping to accomplish, not just this year, but also with some sort of structure that will limit increases over the next 3 to 5 years based on what the committee decides. And then, of course, we'll bring that back to the GRF board for final approval. But again, trying to bring some discipline fiscally and let our residents know what to expect when it comes down to what is a very, very large budget for recreation and what we're being asked to pay or what services are being provided. So that got talked about at length in the last meeting. There were a few changes that were already approved, very minimal, all made a lot of sense. They'll all be reviewed at this upcoming meeting. And again, resident input's welcome before we even make a recommendation to the GRF board, which would come, I suppose, in the July GRF board meeting. So outside of that, everything else in the, we are hearing input from residents about reservation systems and how to open the community as quickly as possible. And I think we already had comments earlier that the staff and the board is listening. We're going to do it as quickly as possible. We're going to do it as intelligently as possible as well. And I hope you'll see that that balance has been considered from beginning to end. I mean, I just applaud the way we've handled COVID from the beginning. There's been a couple ups and downs, but if you look at our numbers, if you look at the access to activities as soon as they're available, you know, I certainly feel like we've done as good a job as anybody. So, you know, that's a plus for our staff. I guess our committee has communicated well. Finally, there was a comment about different things that residents would like to have input on, and they're channeling their information through social media. And I've encouraged them, and I know Brian Gruner has been a part of this as well, to bring that information to the Community Activities Committee. That's what we're there to do. And too often we're finding out after the fact that you wanted input on something that you could have had input simply by attending a meeting or sending us an email. So that channel of communication is wide open, and you can put all the comments you want on Nextdoor, but why not copy us at the same time? I think you'll be surprised. We will listen and we will respond, and we'll do whatever we can to find the right balance to keep our residents as happy as possible while, you know, following our rules and guidelines. So that's what's going on with the CAC. I think it's generally been a really positive thing for the last several months, and hopefully this month will go as well because there's some very important information we're going to share. Thanks.
Thank you, John. So the next item is the Equestrian Center, which I am the chair. Okay. So I'm very happy to report that the Equestrian Center donations, you know, through the village fund is up to $8,255. And the stalls are filling up. And an exciting announcement is that there will be an August barbecue for 50 people. And when the Equestrian Center opens up, there will be tours for free offered by the Saddle Club. So the next item is the Landscape Committee. Director Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had our last meeting on March 10th, and so I have nothing new to report, and our next meeting is June 9th at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a report of maintenance and construction. Director Garth Hoffner.
Okay, we did not have a meeting last month. No, I'm sorry. No, we did not have a meeting in May, right? We did, however, go out and to walk the driving range one more time, and we talked to the new advisor. Let me use the word who is possibly going to help us with that renovation, and we plan to bring that up at this coming month's meeting, which will be next week. On the point of the Clubhouse One ad hoc renovation committee, I'm going to look at setting up a meeting that will interface a little bit with the strategic plan committee's desire to look at all of the clubhouses and we'll plan to discuss that at that meeting. I don't have a date for that right now, but we'll come up with something relatively soon, and I'll inform President Carpenter of what that date will be, and the committee, of course. And that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. So, Director Stevens, would you like to report on anything on the Energy Solutions Ad Hoc Committee?
Sure. I'm picking up where Bert left off, sadly. He was working with a couple of companies who are willing to help us evaluate the feasibility of alternate electric service, particularly to give us resiliency in the case of emergencies, and also hopefully reduce our costs. And that would be focusing on renewable resources such as solar and battery backup. One thing I'd like to note is that we're seeing what is almost an alarming increase in Edison's rates. And so this was part of the justification for looking into what we're calling microgrid, which would be these backup generation resources for emergencies, peak shaving, which is will help us reduce rates in the summer peaks. Not only do we worry about the public power safety shutoffs and stage 3 emergencies called by the California Independent System Operator, but we also are concerned about the increased costs that these peaks cause. So anyway, I'll keep you updated on that. I'm going to do some more research into Edison's increase in rates. We have no regular meeting planned at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. So the next item would be the report of media and communications. Director Millman. We can't hear you, Joan. Okay. Okay, we can hear you
There
now.
you are. Sorry about that.
All right, that's okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Media and Communications met May 17th on Monday virtually, and our report from the Media and Communications, among other things, Ms. Poland told us of plans for next year to renovate and update the Laguna Woods Village website, and also further plans to distribute a village survey next year. We also went over the resolution for distribution of publications by non-residents, and made some improvements which you have heard and approved. And the next thing we discussed was the broadband group recommendations. Broadband group is being considered as a consultant here to go over such things as a West Coast internet contract, our franchise tax fees, the pros and cons of splitting nodes versus fiber to the curb, and a 5-year plan. And that we'll be discussing in closed session. And that is pretty much the end of my report. Our next meeting is June
21st.
Thank you very much. June 21st, 1:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is the report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Tibbetts.
Thank you. I hope the clock in the background doesn't bother you. It's binging right now at the 11 o'clock. Anyway, Chris gave us a very detailed report on the ridership of the village, and all the vehicles have shown a decrease since the pandemic, but recently, just in the past few weeks, it's starting to grow. So probably next month this time, we'll have almost up to where we started before the pandemic. Regarding vehicles, we have a total number of 412 vehicles. and they include trucks and buses, pickups, along with specialty equipment, the forklifts, man lifts, the loaders, and all of that equipment is maintained by our staff. None of it is being sent out. Chris also explained the procedure in determining when we replace a vehicle. And there's a very detailed report on what is done, but basically when it becomes no longer cost effective to repair, then we sell it. Simple as that. Kind of interesting couple of items I'd like to share with you pertaining to our vehicles is the two largest costs that we have besides staff is the cost of fuel, and that's going up, and the cost incurred at DMV for all of our license plates. That's $100,000 a year. Our next meeting is tomorrow, and it's going to be at 2:30, 1 hour later than normal because of conflict with other meetings. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Don, would you go ahead with the Security and Community Access Committee?
Thank you. Because of a problem with the Zoom program and a computer glitch, it took almost half an hour just to get online, but that's all been repaired now. Some of the main items that we reported was an increase of falls by residents. And Memorial Hospital provides a social worker who will work with people. People who have had falls, or if you're older and you're not so sure, give Memorial Care a call and set up an appointment, and you get detailed information on how to help yourself. We have had an increase in illegal occupants. The residents are letting older children move in with them, but staff is aware of it and we're working on it. We have a more active foot patrol because of a slight increase in petty thefts. And a few people have been caught, and if they are caught, the sheriff department will come out and talk to them, and there have been some arrests of outside people. We have 2 incidents this past month of bicycle thefts, and in both cases, the intruders were caught and arrested. In traffic tickets, it seems that this number of tickets is going up for people going 36 and above. 36 is the limit between speeding and I guess they call it fast speeding. But the staff is working on that. And that's all I'll report now. Our next meeting is June 28th at 1:30. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. The next item is report of Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings. Director Horton.
Thank you. We only, at the last meeting on May 19th, we had one person at the hearing, and she was found guilty. And our next meeting is June 16th. But going back to what Dawn was saying about the speeding, we're not seeing a lot of speeding tickets in traffic. In the traffic hearings, so I just wanted to point that out. And our next meeting is June 16th at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is report of the Disaster Preparedness Task Force. Director Stevens.
I'll give I'll give that report.
Okay.
We met on May 25th. It was a virtual meeting. We talked about the radio drills, which we had in April and May. The responses were down to 9 or 10 out of 14 radios. They had been up to 13 responses, so we'll be checking on that to be sure the equipment is working. The recruitment and training. Juanita Skillman is taking over the recruitment and training section. There are several members of the disaster preparedness force who are working on a training curriculum that will be used for the future Good Neighbor captains. They're going to encourage everybody to use the File of Life, which is the little plastic bag with your insurance and health information that you paste on the front of your refrigerator and on the top shelf. So if you don't have that, get that. That's really important. We encourage everybody to do that. So that will be promoted more heavily. The pet evacuations subcommittee met, and they're advertising the filling out of a document to register your pets so that the security knows where the pets are and disaster preparedness can deal with them. They have a storage trailer for pet supplies. It's got about 350 items in it to create a pet command post. And so they will be sending out another document to residents asking them more information and more complete information about pets. It's important that you register your pets in case we have a disaster. Maybe you're not home, or if you are home, we know to expect how many pets and whatever. You just don't want your pet terrified and running all over the village. The Fire Alert device, the pilot program has been approved, and the next step is to select the residents from a volunteer list to install the devices and see how they work. There is a plan for placing radio antennas on the gatehouses, which would be a helpful idea. The American Red Cross virtual training will be held soon. It's on August 10th at 10 o'clock for earthquake and flood preparedness. Our next meeting is Tuesday, July 27th at 9:30, virtually, at least for now. Thank you.
Okay, Director Hoffman? Egon?
Yeah, I just had a question whether or not have the committee members of the M&V been notified of change of time for the meeting tomorrow?
Yes, they have.
Okay, thank you. By whom, may I ask?
By Grant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next item.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me say that the change of time is 2:30 tomorrow, not 1:30 for the
Right.
A&V.
Right. That's important. Okay, the next item is future agenda items. Are there any additions? Presently, we don't have any, but are there any additions that something to add on the future agenda items? So if there's none, we'll go to the next item, which is director comments. So we have no director comments. I guess everybody is anxious to have our recess. And it is now 11:14. So let's report back at 11:45, and we'll continue our closed session. Okay, thank you.
Okay.